Got it. All right. I'm trying to monkey my screen around here. I can keep track of where we're at. All right. Welcome to the annual meeting of SODOM, Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother. And we have a quorum. Oh, and there's Tanya. So now we're 1+ up. So we got Jim, Don, Louisa, Robert, Alian, Christopher, and Tanya present thus far. All right, so we can just roll right in. This is a business meeting. I'm sorry. I see Jim's lip, you know. But anyway, I think Tanya and I did meet on Thursday to catch up on where the bylaws have been and different things around the bylaws that we'll want to look at and today. And when I did the bank, now when I did the incorporation with Delaware, they did not require any bylaws to be sent. It wasn't even part of the package. So at that point, I hadn't done anything with the bylaws because we didn't have back all the paperwork and numbers, you know, all the things that we needed to move forward. And so when I did the banking application, that was a requirement. It was a requirement to turn in the bylaws, and the bylaws in their current form were kind of rough because the addresses weren't right, the states weren't correct, the the things you need to cite in those laws wasn't there yet, and so that was all added to that. And that's what was submitted. So I took a offline copy and did a lot of markup on it so that Tanya could follow. It's a lot easier for me to deal with than Google Drive. And so we did meet on Thursday. So one of the things that is in the bylaws, and I can certainly screen share if you want to see where they're at in their current form with the changes we've made so far. If we walk through them, then we'll be able to walk through the agenda. So I just need to find the document. Disappeared. I did what Louisa did. I tried to
I'm good with just hearing
minimize.
them. I don't know how others are.
Words I tend to remember more than looking at something.
Yeah, I can't really see them well on my screen anyway.
Okay. Where did
Yeah, if there's anything you need us to look at, then you could share it then and not worry.
Okay. All right. So I'll start at the top in the Article 1. I added the registered agent and the governing laws and regulations. So it talks about us being a non-stock 501c3. Introduced as required by the law, state law, the registered agent. So cited them and their address. The principal address of Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother was updated to be my home address. That's the one filing the paperwork. And then it just added the Title 8 corporations and Title 6 commerce and trade sections that govern us to both of those, to that one section under covers title, location, registration, registered agent, governing laws and regulations, and the corporate seal. Interestingly enough, in the old days, everybody had that thing you had to order to, stamp your documents or whatever. Maryland, or excuse me, I can't say Maryland, the Delaware states that we shall have the power to, so it doesn't require you to. It says, but we shall have the power to have a corporate seal, which can be altered at pleasure, right? Can do whatever we want, whenever we want, and use the same by causing it or a facsimile thereof to be impressed or affixed in any other manner produced. So they've really changed that to allow for an electronic seal or, other methods, beyond the old. They used to click, right? Click, click.
Yeah. it was a-
Anyway, the old seal.
It's not
in
even
the-
it's not even required federally anymore. When we turn something
Yeah,
in, we can do the electronic as well.
really, it's almost like a logo now, I guess, in a way, where you
It
can
is
just,
kind of.
yeah. Under the vision, when I think we worked together earlier with Tanya, updated it to say, Sodom, put our Sodom co-creating right relationship, spirit guided, earth led. So that became the vision, statement. And then, I have to make sure. And then the mission statement, there we go, was updated to the mission statement that we had come up with, to support individuals around the globe in reconnecting to themselves, others, and nature through education, empowering them to protect and regenerate their local ecology in order to restore healthy, balanced, thriving for all individuals and planets. Now, in going back, because Tanya said, oh, we'll have to file this with the IRS when it is updated. We will have to send the bylaws, and I did look that up, and it's like Form 990 or something,
Yeah.
to that effect. But we have to be careful here, because what we don't want to do is change the intent, because then that'll bring the not-profit under some form of scrutiny that I don't think we're looking for in our situation. I am going to share at this point, because after kind of reading back through the regs related to that on the site, we had struck all the other language that fell into that mission, thinking that, well, it's a lot of words. We came up with a mission, but I think to some extent, some of this wording may need to change, or the intent of the organization could be seen as changing, especially around the, providing sanctuaries, because that's not really in the mission statement itself. So I didn't know if these struck words here could serve underneath the mission as, and I think the primary work of sanctuaries is to build a better, healthy, and more peaceful, somewhere in here, we should try and capture the first two paragraphs, right? And then definitely not lose the sanctuaries piece of that. Thoughts on that?
What you can do, Don, is we have the vision and the mission, and they're good. We can put these as action items under them, which is what we used to do when I wrote grants as well. So they're not part of the vision and mission per se, but they are, because it's the, how are we going to go about this stuff?
I'm going to see what happened. Let's see. Here. Original.
Yes, I'm just looking at the website again. I have some confusion around what the actual final version is, which I'm hoping is what's on the website. It looks like that might be slightly different from what I sent you, what you put in the document there, Don.
That's what I cut and pasted from the chat.
What I sent you, yeah. And I'm just looking at the website, and I'm doing this from memory, so I don't know what is the mission that's in the document now.
The original mission.
No, the what we pasted in the new.
It's right here. This is what was in the chat that you sent, that you stated was the mission: to support individuals around the globe in reconnecting to themselves, others, and nature through education and empowering them to protect and regenerate their local ecology in order to restore health, balance, and thriving of all beings on the planet.
You know what? I have a sense that I sent you one that I drafted at some point, not the one that we actually did, because I'm looking at the website.
Okay,
Yes.
As
Yes.
primary work of Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother is to build a healthier, more peaceful legacy to pass on to our children, which would then encapsulate everything that was already in that. Pixie! Sorry, sorry, y'all. She's
let
climbing.
me
It's-
go there
Yeah.
and grab that.
And then it's on the website, so I would just grab that. I'm assuming that that was the one we signed off on. Sorry if I put like any confusion. You must have grabbed one that I wrote up when we we're about to go into those conversations.
Yeah, what was
So
the
is there a
website?
mission play under about? Is that what it is? Oh, there it is. So does it, so I'm gonna change this right now. Holy cow.
Oh, now I can read it.
Yeah. I can make it larger. Come on, give me the font here, Butler. What we got here? Times New Roman 12. That's what I thought. In a bottle. A lot of new fonts added. Holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, there we go.
How about Chinese?
Do you need a large print version when we're done?
No,
Yeah. Okay.
no, I need a version that I can actually save to my computer. I haven't been able to do that so far.
Yeah, we found a really cool feature in Teams that's pretty cool at work where you can actually
No,
pop out
thanks.
the presenter screen and you can do whatever you want with it. It's really nifty. They don't have that in Zoom yet. Okay, I did make it a little larger.
That's good.
So what we haven't captured in here is the part around really the development of sanctuaries and the co-creating with, you know, other nonprofits.
And those, as we did in the beginning, and it should be registered with the Fed, those are the goals and objectives. So you have the vision, the mission, and then goals and objectives. So those are like some call them value goals, but goals and objectives is what's generally used. Those are the things we're targeting to do in order to accomplish what we say in the vision and mission.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's fine.
Yeah, you've probably seen those too, right?
Yeah,
Oh.
I think with what I'm seeing on the website, I do think it's close enough to what you're saying. I definitely get what you're saying, and we wouldn't want to prompt some kind of a looking
No.
into
No,
because
no.
it's way different. It changed the mission. Maybe this is something we could run by oh, I'm so sorry, Louise, I forgot your friend's name, the lawyer. Maybe she could take a look at the old and the new and see if that is still enough that it's not going to prompt anything.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm just 1 second here.
I'm gonna
While
go get something to drink. Be right back.
here we go.
Sorry, I was absent for 2 seconds there because I'm just putting dinner in the oven. Did you ask me to ask Sally something?
Yes, if that's possible, is like all the old wording in the sanctuaries mission document that we had and the new wording, and just to see, because we kind of feel like it's goes more into how we accomplish the mission, some of the stuff that's in the old one. I guess what we want to know is the new mission we wrote up and vision, close enough to the old one that it won't prompt the IRS to look into like, oh, did you people completely change what you're doing, and to reconsider 501c3 status.
Okay. So where would I find old and new copies? Are they all in the Google Drive?
I don't know. I think Don is working on an offline version, so I think he can just probably send you the document.
Yeah, if you email me the 2 documents you're worried about, then what I can do is I can pop them in an email to Sally and ask her to check over it.
Yeah, and maybe it can just be the wording instead of the whole document, so she knows what
Yeah.
we're.
Well, to be honest, in the
Yeah,
in
we'd
the
want
list
to,
of who you've got her email, so it's probably better to actually send it from sort of,
Actually.
if you guys know what you're actually asking.
I can do that. Yeah,
You've
I
got
can
her
do
email
that.
address
Because I'll
there.
need to send the original language and then, I guess
Yeah.
there's 3, in the conversation, I've heard several different approaches, right?
Yeah. Well, go direct to her. She absolutely won't mind at all. I don't have
No, I don't
to
mind.
the go between her. All of her information is in the non-voting list of board members because she's there. I
Okay.
made sure that her details were in there.
And I totally have copies of all the original stuff off the original filings if you need them done.
Yeah, and I have all
You
those
still
as
have them?
well.
Okay.
Yeah, I saved everything in the Google Drive that was original.
The big things we had to retain when we originally did it, because we had a lawyer do this for us too, was the 3 prongs: the working with the wisdom of the ancestors, science, and working with nature. And if we retained that, according to the attorneys, we're fine. And we could not go religious in any way. We could advertise spiritual. We could never do religious because we didn't get that kind of coverage.
Got it. Yeah, I think we took out the science piece because there was some, we had a discussion about that. But
If
maybe
we
there's-
did, then we need to put it in the goals and objectives
Yeah,
as
okay.
using sustainable science to blah, blah, because it's in what the government has.
Yeah, because right here, what I did was, when I sent it to the bank, I cleaned up based on some of the things that we discussed and kind of heard and reformed and reordered to be kind of more of a top-down look. And so I created some different wording to kind of gel with some of the wording we've been talking about. And we had made some changes from the original document that became our first set of bylaws. So it's really the first approved set under the new organization. We didn't change the intent of any of the language in that. And I just cleaned it up a little bit. But we do have the, woven together with in that one, these words here.
Yeah, so what I would
Yes.
send is absolutely the original, and then what we came up with new.
So I think what I'm hearing, I
know-
just want to make sure what I'm hearing is that this is the mission statement that we had, and then this is really the because you don't want to get too deep. I mean,
Those are goals and
objectives and
objectives,
things.
yes.
So these are high level goals and objectives. So,
Yes. Yes.
and are they're not really value statements. So, we want to
No.
put a title on them potentially, right?
Well, you can put goals and objectives. And then what happens when you take it from there is when we create programs and projects, they go under the goals and objectives.
Right.
And then you've got the IRS is never going to question, as long as we're in the broad guidelines of nature, sustainable science, and
Yeah, I just didn't want to lose anything
I
in,
know.
because that's a pretty short statement and it does miss a few things. So,
Where there's a
Um,
problem is when we start bringing in a lot of money, if you start putting in it the things that are not in this, then you're gonna get, or of course, if
Oh.
you're- or if you're a politician. Other
You
than
mean
that,
we can't sell cars at our events or,
no, and,
you
and we
know?
can't buy, we can buy no Mercedes. I'm sorry, Don, I know you've been waiting.
No, not a Mercedes.
Maybe a Mercedes van to send our people out around the road.
I
My,
want a four-wheel drive.
Yeah, right?
Can't I have a private jet?
Of course. And a pilot.
Oh yes, definitely a pilot, as long as he's young enough. Private pilot. Mm.
We could share that, Louisa, so I could go see my family.
Okay, as long as
Right.
I get to keep pilot, that's fine.
right. Oh, that's got some definite. All right, guess I won't take you through all the. I only got two more.
Thank you.
All
Don.
right.
Oh.
All right, so we'll go with that and I'll fix some of the other formatting along the way. So we did take this section here, thinking that, what'd we say? We talked about value statements, right? And do we really need them here, right? If we've got, a vision
Wait a
and a
minute, go-
mission and goals and objectives,
That's all we need.
do we really need this? I mean, it really speaks all up of there, to that.
It does. Sometimes when we do a business plan based on the foundations we're presenting to, we might add more.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But for the
Yeah.
purposes, for the purposes of the government, it's absolutely KISS is best. Keep it simple, stupid.
Right. Yeah. We could have another document, core beliefs, single sheet, something that gets attached to grants and the next place that we come is really within the terms of the board. Did some investigation, got some data here. This is a group that's been around a while, working with nonprofits and helping people move along, but they get into term limits. There are boards don't have term limits, right? People stay
Yep.
sometimes too long. Pros and cons of term limits. What I found interesting, and this wasn't the only place that I found it, is that and they cite their board source. They've been around quite some time. But they've done some, there's been some research done and they talk about, the 87% of boards have term limits. Of those, they indicate having term limits, which I thought was an odd statement, but it's the difference between, do you have term limits that are stated as, 10, 15, 20 years? The most popular structure, and as I'm looking at this, right, we've got a whole year and we're just really getting our feet underneath us. This year we'll be getting our socks and shoes on, right, and starting to walk and get some things done. And in the third year, we should really be hitting our stride, right? So the most common structure is 2 consecutive 3-year terms.
Yes.
I would like to propose that we move toward the most common nonprofit structure, because when you look at longevity, especially when you're just starting out, I mean, if you think about starting to turn this over to people like as soon as next year, and you have a core group of people, I don't think you're going to build the strength within the organization that that SODM would need to perpetuate itself. There's still a lot of things that need, documented around how we work, how we bring people in. So is there any objection to making that change?
No, and if somebody needs to step down, that's okay. We just,
Mm-hmm.
what
That's
we,
covered.
what hopefully we could do is, we ask that person to see if they can find other options for people to step in and fill their post. And if they can't, maybe somebody else on the board can. So that way we get some continuity.
Right.
And that's because we are what you're talking about. Some of them don't have term limits done because they're family nonprofits. We're not.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the
Yep.
the different consortiums that are out there that,
Yes. And they could stay on there for 40 years or whatever the hell they do. Yeah.
right. Sometimes
No,
to their
I'm
detriment.
good. I'm good with that. Makes sense to me.
All right. So I'm going to
Anybody
just
else?
make a note here. And I didn't do it as a motion because when we make all the changes, this will all come back for a vote.
Okay.
Whereas before we were making the changes and kind of approving and then did a mass approval just to get
Mhm.
ourselves off the door. So and then the other piece of that is
Hey, buddy.
the board turnover in a sense of tenure coming up. You know, if we have a current board and we're 3 years, we don't necessarily need to worry about our first election until we go into the next year. What I propose between that time, we have a couple of vacancies, right? Is whether or not we want to fill those vacancies. But also how we start to put in place a formal process. Now there is within the bylaws, you know, nomination committee, et cetera. They're down here in Article 8,
Yeah.
committees.
Yeah.
One question, right? I mean, we took these bylaws from the original organization, brought them forward, quickly made some changes because, well, we thought we are going to get something done in Arizona, but that backfired, and then we had to regroup. But we kept the original bylaws that we had made. Do we still think that it's necessary to have a nominations committee?
I do.
Yes.
Okay. And if so, who do we want to name to that committee, right? It says at least 3
No.
members of the board of directors, right? And again, we don't have to
You normally
decide
do that. You
necessarily
normally
today.
do that when it's time to bring people on the board.
Right, right.
So if people now, we're still small enough that we can bring people and discuss it as a group. But as we go down the road, especially if we're looking for specific skills, you can form that committee and say, okay, please within a month come back with whoever. It's not a committee that has to be sitting all the time.
No, it doesn't.
No.
But I do think there needs to be a process, like the whole thing about bringing somebody in. We talk about them while they're in the meeting, I think is an absolutely terrible process. And I really would love for us to move away from that and have it be a more formal thing, because really
Yes.
there's been, you know, somebody shows up, now they're listening to us making a decision. That is awful. That's really awful. And like, I know for me, it can really influence how I'm going to vote, because I don't want to rock the boat sometimes, right? Like depending on who it is. So I personally really disagree with that approach.
I quite
But
agree. Actually, I find it particularly comfortable, but and we do actually need to fill a couple of places, and I do think I do think they do need filling. So maybe we need to work out how we go about that. Are we, you know, because there was the idea originally that there was going to be a pool of potential people, but obviously we haven't been around long enough for that to have built yet. Though I have a sense that
I created the pool.
Jim and Christopher probably have got a bit of a pool of people they'd like to bring in from their wanderings. Yeah, so I wonder how. Have you got suggestions, Tanya, on how we handle that?
Well, I would strongly encourage, if we actually are going to fill these roles, to really look at like what are the skill sets we need. It's like really looking into some intentionality on who's on the board, and not just people who say they're kind of sort of maybe interested, and then yeah, what can they bring and what are the skill sets that would help us move forward, I think is really critically important.
Yeah, and I think having, you know, a process whereby now I use CASA board that it was on, you know, I had to submit a resume. The board reviewed the resumes at one of their meetings. You know, then they call the person back to meet the board, right? The board says, yeah, let's come meet this person. And so I joined the first, I don't know, 5-10 minutes of the call, answered questions, you know, had a dialogue, told them about myself, and then left the call, right? And it's like, okay, we're gonna vote, and you'll hear from us within, you know, 5 or 7 days, whatever it was. And you know, if you are, you know, and then any other information you might need, if you're joining the board.
Yeah, I
and it
think-
worked out real well, and it takes, yeah, it gives everyone an opportunity to gel around it.
I think ultimately we probably do need something quite that structured. Certainly, as we progress and go down the line, we definitely need to be able to have resumes and what have you. But possibly at the moment, our pool is limited, and a lot of what we're doing is going on what feels right. And I know that it's a really hard one to handle when we've also got to deal with structure. And then so some of the people that we would be calling on aren't necessarily going to be great at resumes and things. So I'm wondering if we can maybe have some kind of interview process rather than, you know, if we're limited to who's being suggested, for instance, these next two missing board members, because we should be.
And I guess I'll backtrack because I never actually gave them my resume.
Yeah,
because they weren't as interested in what I did as much as what I could do. So I answered a series of questions. You know, what do you think you can bring to the board? What kind of skill sets do you have that you think you can contribute? Because it also starts to set in their mind the fact that, oh yeah, I'm gonna have to do something, right? I contribute, you know, so you do use some keywords to kind of put them in the mindset. So Tanya and I have a meeting.
That sounds good. That sounds just like the
Yeah.
right kind of thing is that if we've got some kind of questionnaire that people so if any of us think, oh, I'd like this person on, we should have a questionnaire ready that we can send them, and then when we've got that back, you know, then we can work out having interviews and stuff. That would probably work quite well.
Yeah, and Tanya and I are meeting later this month, right? Yeah, right around Christmas or after. Can't remember if we picked the week before or after, but we can put something like that together. I think we could pull together some questions, and if anyone has any questions they'd like to see, then could go ahead. So we could have an action here for folks, and again, it's in a couple of weeks, so that everyone or anyone who has a specific type of question could send it. And again, we could just send it to the whole board email, just like we always do, if you want, or you can send it to Tanya and I.
The
Yeah,
more-
and then can we say if there's something particular that, like Tanya said just a minute ago, that there may be that we want a particular skill set because we're realizing that we've got that missing within the members, then we can tailor the questionnaire a little bit. If we've got specific positions that we want, well, not positions because they're not positions at the moment. That's a
No.
slightly different matter, but
Yeah,
if
it's
we're looking
interesting.
at skill sets, we need to have a way of finding them, don't we?
Right,
I-
because everyone that's currently on the board with, I guess I'll say the exception of Kat at this point, has a role within the organization, whether it be governance, education, accounting, treasurer, so what other, if we're here, right, do we want to discuss that now or do we want to push that to the next meeting?
I think I like the way, Don, that you let it, the normal way, or the way most frequently done with this is, if one of us has somebody they want to nominate, and there's no one left on the original pool, so that's all done. We don't have to worry about it. We bring that person's name and a little bit about them to the board, and we talk about it and why. And it's not just the role they're going to play, but especially now as we're going to raise money. And I'm trying to think of a general way to put this, but we need to think about the diversity of the board as well. So if we're talking about working with Indigenous people, it's nice to have a mixed board, Indigenous and non-Indigenous and that sort of thing. I don't like sending a questionnaire to the person ahead of time. I like if the board thinks they want to meet the person, bring them in and let's have the chat right there. So they don't have a preconceived notion of what you're going to ask them. And then, like Don said, they're there for a little bit and they also get to ask any questions they have because it should work both ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And then go off. And if the board feels more information is needed, then maybe follow up with a more elaborate set of questions. And also, Don, make a note of LaSalle Nonprofit Institute. That's the most respected one in the country. So when we need things, that's a good place to go look for. And the government always accepts. I've used them multiple times before. They accept their expertise.
So is there particular skill sets that we think that we do need at the moment? I mean, and as you said, okay, there's also a diversity element we need to look at. That can be a what part of the tribe we're talking about, but also what part of the globe as well, because we are not spread as much as I would like us to be, because there's still bits of the hemisphere missing. We're all very northern hemisphere, and we've got nothing in Africa, we've got nothing in South America, or nothing really in the colder regions of the northern hemisphere. So we could do with that perspective as well, because we want to be a global voice. We need a global understanding of things because it's different for everybody everywhere, isn't it?
Also age.
Yeah.
I wrote down youth.
Yeah. But then we do need somebody who's savvy with grants, etc., and what's available now, or the pushing us forward as far as being a front, some kind of ops without it being the structural side of it. What else does anyone else feel that we need as a skill set particularly?
Yeah,
Fundraising's big. Because
What?
I can start on it, but I can't carry it all. It won't work.
Fundraising, he said,
Yeah.
Tanya.
Yeah, I agree. And I personally, rather than going into other countries and kind of, that feels really complicated right now. I think
Yes.
that could advisory board role.
Yes.
Or some other way we bring that in. But I would love to see more of is age diversity for sure, and age and race diversity,
Mhm.
especially because I think most of us, I'm just gonna say this, like most of us are a little out of touch with the tech things. We can do things and we can set things up and we can like make things happen, but there's so much more out there now that none of
Yes.
us really tapped into. And culturally, I think we're gonna miss the boat if we're not tapped into this younger generation who are the people who are needing to live with
Yeah.
what we're creating. So I would love to see more representation of a younger age group at this point in time rather than a specific skill set. Although it would be awesome if they had some kind of a either fundraising or more marketing, just so we have more
Yeah,
options.
I was gonna say someone
Agreed.
that can help us with the multimedia type. I mean, that's a profession. I mean, that's a
Oh, yeah.
whole animal. I mean,
And
Quick
not
question
only-
on that, Jim. Do you think that because a
Thank
lot of
you.
the work that Kat does is with the youth on that level of things, would she know of anybody? Would she have a pool access?
Kat and I
anyone-
work, Kat and I work pretty much with the same pool and we often do it together. So we know the same people, but she does have some access. I think beyond that, she sure has TEDx
Mm.
pools, and there's the youth group. But let's remember too, not everybody has to be on the board to bring in the diversity factor. When we did this before, we ended up with a youth board as well. And I think we had 7 people who came together and they were part of our youth board, and they helped bring in ideas. And then one of them ended up stepping up onto the board. So there's other ways to do it, I guess. I mean, I totally agree, Louisa. I want South America and Africa, but if they can't be on the board, there's other ways to be seen.
Yeah, but we definitely do have two board members missing, and
Yes,
I
I agree.
feel that
Well,
it just leaves the circle underpowered. That's how it feels.
well, and what I've heard is that we're lacking, skill sets, or so I'll say fundraising, which include grants, and then
Yeah.
maybe that someone who around that whole multimedia concept that could offer assistance to the multimedia committee. But in a strong way, I guess, a committed way. Both of these are very more committed type
yes,
positions, right? To be
Yes.
able to carry it off.
I
Um,
wanted to just kind of bring in that I know everybody's always focused on grants, but grants are actually kind of difficult to get, and they're often super specific and you have to use them
yes,
Mhm.
big way. So other ways of fundraising, I think, are really key.
yes.
I don't think we can rely on grants.
No,
no, I think you
Good-
have
a
to have a
good-
round.
a good fundraising package is grants, both government and individual and family, and individual fundraising from individuals, like Tanya's saying, and sometimes some government money, although that's the most difficult to facilitate because they want reports out to yin yang. But the more you can mix that up, the better sustainable funding you have.
And that's part of our business down the line where we start putting some definition around that. So for the vacancies within the board, are we looking at some targeted individuals in a sense of a skill set, not necessarily a person,
Okay.
but in an individual skill set that we should meditate on, right? Put smoke up for, and then find those people.
Well, yeah, no, I think the fundraising for sure. And sometimes someone will appear in fundraising who does not want to be on the board, but they like being a fundraiser. So
And that's fine. We got that cool
Absolutely.
advisory board, right?
I used to be the one who helped with the media stuff, And I realize full well that has gone so far beyond me now that ain't gonna be me no more. Thank God we have Robert, but can't just depend on him. So I think we need somebody with those skills.
Wonder, I'm thinking intern, right? You, you know, you could find a college kid, senior year of school's trying to get a little experience they can put on their
Yes.
resume. I mean,
Um,
that's,
At
you
this
know,
point, most interns really expect to be paid. It's like the thing has,
eh,
it has completely shifted because I was just intern coordinator at my last job.
oh, wow. Okay.
I can tell you that there has been a dramatic shift in that and that there is an expectation to
Wow.
get paid.
oh,
Might
yeah,
start,
yeah.
But it is really, and there are a lot of places where you could advertise to find interns,
Yep.
and all of them require that you pay interns.
That's a shift.
You cannot advertise on those sites if you're not going to pay
Yeah,
them.
and I'm thinking more informal, right? People who know people. I've got a niece, nephew, cousin, I don't know. She's got a huge business. Tapping into a student pool that, there are people who need opportunity and they're out there, right? Because they're not, because they need that opportunity to get upward mobility.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Sorry, this is the point I feel very passionate about. I really also advocate for these young people because intern very often is synonymous with just cheap labor or free labor.
Oh,
And I think that's where the cultural shift has happened, where that's just no longer a thing. And I personally feel strongly about that we also have to be able to deliver something
Oh, certainly.
where they actually take away something of value for themselves.
I
Yeah,
I
no,
handled interns for Colorado State for 6 years. And of course, then you weren't even allowed to have them paid. But that's not the main point. Obviously, that's shifted. But yes, unless there was somebody strongly committed to working with the intern, then that was not a placement that I would make. So for us, I don't think we're ready to do that yet.
I was going to say, because it really that actually requires a good amount of work and
Oh
input.
yeah.
And
Oh yeah,
mhm.
I did set that up at my last job and it was quite involved. And
it is.
yeah, so there's a good amount to it. But yes, I hear what you're saying, Don. And if there is somebody like that who's actually really open to it and willing, like we
Right, yeah, right.
too, and then that's great.
But anybody who
And
brings
those,
them in has to be ready for care and feeding. They have to be the one working with them, I would say.
It's often a big thing, to get experience, you need age. If we want to bring the young vote in or young sector, they don't often have the range of skills. Once in a blue moon, you'll get somebody who's just really good at it. But, like I know I've got a group of younger people here who are great in this area, environment, earth care, stuff like that. I couldn't say what range of skills they've got, except for one of them. She's good at advertising and stuff like that. Setting up groups, events, etc.
I think for me, it's more about the tapping into the zeitgeist and the sort of culture of that
Yeah.
group, because that is something that I really think just needs to come from that group.
What's zeitgeist mean?
Yeah, I was just trying to how do I translate that, because I've seen it used in English so much that I just assumed that's a thing. It's sort of I'm probably not translating that right, but sort of the flair of like the themes that are going on in that particular age group, the things that are important to them, and like culturally what's happening there.
Yeah, it's interesting. The group that I'm looking at, like the ones that I know, like there's a group of young people. We're in New Zealand, but one of them's Brazilian, one's half Japanese. We've got Australian, we've got a German, there's very few actual Kiwis in amongst them.
Well, there's only 35 of you anyway.
Don't choke
And
me
30,
up, man.
30
Yeah,
of
right.
those are sheep.
That's right.
It helps to have projects if we make them smaller
Yes.
projects,
Yes.
then to give that then you can take care and even kind of see how they're going about it. So when we have smaller projects and things we know we want done, that helps like a lot.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right. I'll bring us back
Good.
kind of around so we can keep doing business.
Well, that also,
Um,
let me just add one more piece to that, Don. That also holds for volunteers. When the
Mhm.
time comes, volunteers are wonderful, but that takes a lot of energy and time, just like the interns. So, yeah, that's all.
Okay. So for our vacancies, are we looking at it? I'll put it this way, looking at it with an eye toward fundraising and potentially the multimedia piece.
Well, we have all these needs we have, so if something else pops up that fits one of those needs, let's look at them.
So what would our other need be? Because when I look at the organization, I guess, money, definitely need some money to keep going. But the multimedia side is going to be the one that takes us. That's where our visibility and our getting out there comes from, staying connected.
And yeah, and part of raising money is going to require, and we're pretty good at it so far, but more diversity, some youth commitment, I mean, I know the things they're asking for now. So I've gotten that far with my research into current fundraising, which has changed dramatically. No surprise.
So with an eye to age and age, race, diversity,
Age or diversity. Yeah, I mean,
indigenous, youth, grant writing. Okay, so we just have to put that out there, right? Because we
just, yeah.
don't necessarily know anyone, but from the minute perspective, kind of capture those things as key to our go forward.
Marketing and fundraising, and I don't think they're necessarily the same thing.
No, they're not.
No,
You're right.
not a,
You're right.
yep.
We agree.
I'm a
I'm
good
glad you used
fundraiser.
the
I'm a
word
lousy
marketing.
marketer.
All right. Got that piece. So that kind of takes it, we kind of covered what we're looking for in the vacancies. Talked about, we got an action here, for, the whole, kind of nomination process. So we agree that, someone at this point, until I guess we need to get more formal. Tanya, are we okay not to have a questionnaire? I'll ask the group that. I mean, Tanya and I had talked about it, that, it's something at least I had encountered in the past.
Yeah, I'm not hung up on that part. What I would like though is some kind of information about the person as they're coming in. So maybe it is me, because that's the easiest and everybody has it, I think, or most people do, some sort that we know who the person is, not so much to pick on the, like, I don't care so much about the resume, like what they've done and to pick apart like that kind of piece, but just to get a sense of who they are. If that
And
makes
so that first introduction would then be done by someone in the board explaining to us, hey, I've got this person, this is what I think they can do for us, this is their interest, whatever. And
Is
then
there,
we talk about it as a board and determine, like,
if we want to move forward with the conversation, yeah, here's their, I
Okay.
mean, I kind of do like going back to the resume, not because the skill set, never, just to get a sense of the person, really.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
or some equivalent if you have something else. I like not sending out the questions as well. I think that's a great idea, so people kind of speak in the moment.
Mhm.
Don't come with like a formed answer.
Mhm.
Something that I like is, I think Jim suggested we bring them into a meeting that's not the decision meeting, it's just a meet and greet with like
Mhm.
like the group we've got here now. Each person will ask relevant questions to the areas that we're looking for, and each of us has a different angle and different things that we'll spot. Like the things that I'd pick up on would be different to what you would pick up on, Tanya, and I think that's really important.
Mhm.
I agree. And I do think there's a step before that, but where we actually make the decision, do we want to bring this person in the meeting
Correct.
as a board?
Yes,
That should
yes.
be, that should be each one of us as a board person. If one of us is bringing a name to the board, then we are there,
Sponsor.
yeah, we're presenting them, so we should be able to tell the rest of the board something about who they are and why we're suggesting them. And then, right,
Mm.
Tanya's right, then we decide, okay, if this person's worth talking to or meeting, and then we go there.
Okay.
And there's a difference to the having board skills and having somebody who can be doing on the ground work.
Correct.
Because I even look at that myself, in the last, since I've got back to New Zealand, I wonder, do I actually have board skills? I'm damn good on the ground. And yeah, it's just a question I ask myself, and I'm aware it's something we need to watch when we're bringing people in.
All right. Got it. Let's see. And I guess I'm still sharing. Doesn't put a ring around my thing, so sometimes I forget. Other than that, we had there was the indemnification insurance clause. Oh, and the conflict of interest committee. Now it talks about a conflict of interest committee. Let's see which is first. Let me- Do you recall specifically, Tanya, where you saw the term conflict committee?
I
Oh,
don't remember ever having a committee.
well, I assumed it was
We had a
under.
policy.
Yes, so let's go to the policy real
Okay.
quick and see what it says.
Yeah, that's it.
Control.
Oops. Making me dizzy.
Sorry, I'm just gonna
I'm
go
kidding.
back through here. Okay, it doesn't show up in there. Here's the conflict.
I'm
of
not sure. Maybe we
interest.
had one
Okay.
when we created them.
All right. To administer and monitor compliance, the board of directors shall create a committee of the board on the conflicts of interest to consist of 2 directors.
That's another
So-
one. If a potential conflict occurs, then
Yeah.
usually it's the chair can create that committee and ask 2 members to do it.
Right. Yeah, you can spin that up at any time if you
Right.
needed. But I guess I look at more the administration and the monitoring of compliance, could really fall under the governance committee without the need to. Well, they could be the de facto committee.
Yeah.
Somebody isn't sure and they want to reach out to see if there is a conflict of interest, they just reach out to the entire board.
Yeah, and then if you need it, a couple of members of the board can be asked to explore it.
To administer and monitor compliance.
I don't remember ever having, well, I do remember one time a conflict of interest. That's the only time I ever remember it. Maybe I've been lucky.
Is there? So you want to name this every year in a sense, because every year you got to do the compliance part. Right? Because every year people need to attest to conflict of interest.
Yeah, I think conflict of interest and also discrimination. They were something what I normally see is you just pass something around and everyone signs off on it. It can be done via computer. Reaffirming those two things.
Yeah, we thought for this year, since we don't have like a DocuSign potentially, although Tanya sent me something I could investigate. Worst case scenario, would send an email that would have the attachment with the conflict of interest document on it, and then it would really be a template that would do the attestation within the template, right? People would say, yeah,
Yes.
essentially agree.
And
Yeah.
for that to count, there needs to be like a little blurb in it that says, I agree that the signature, the electronic signature, like
Yep.
a blurb around it, I can send that to you.
Yes.
Yeah, because I can set up a Outlook template and then include really
Yeah,
it'd
well-
be the signature piece.
All you have to say is
Um,
I accept the blah, blah, blah. I just did that with some legal documents unrelated to us.
So since we're at this point around conflict of interest, does somebody want to make a motion around who those two people are? And it could
No,
lean
can-
towards governance. Because it says to administer and monitor compliance. So the administration of the is the sending out and the agreement, right? And the monitoring of the compliance is when you might spin something up that's ad hoc, right? If somebody brought something up. So I guess what I'm trying to avoid is creating yet another committee
exactly.
if it could be handled by the governance committee, of which there are two officers. And if you all agree that that works for you, do we want to change the language in here, right, to administer and monitor the board of directors,
Yeah. That makes most sense to me.
It does, but there needs to be a caveat of what, because the governance committee are also board members. So if it happens to be one of the governance committee that
Oh, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Right.
those, that wording's got to be in there as well. Hasn't it? We've just got to have a, unless,
Yeah.
and then it reverts to the.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's unless I've got some language somewhere that's like, yeah, unless it's those
Yeah.
people. And then in that case, it's usually reported to some other officer, right, within the organization to bring that to the board's
Mhm.
attention.
Same thing with discrimination.
So we'll so it's governance is kind of the de facto with these little keyboards. I guess de facto must have a space there. All right.
Hmm.
All right. And what was, let's see, that was the other one, indemnification insurance, and I believe that's kind of the last clause here. Article 15.
Yeah, at the bottom, indemnification insurance be secured.
So when and how, right? That's the question in a new organization is when and how.
Mhm. Generally,
And
when we start bringing in money. Although, I'm sorry. Although, like with the events we've been doing, I've been buying insurance for each event. So we're covered.
Oh, where do you get that? Would you mind sending me like an email about that where you get it?
I can. Yep. And you can buy it for a day, a week, whatever, you want. And it wasn't even that expensive, Tanya. I think the last one, when we did the thing in Cottonwood there, I think it was $30 for the day.
Yeah, at my other jobs, we were just able to add it to our existing policy, but now that I'm starting to do my own things, I'd love to look into something like that.
I'll have to find it, but I will. I'm gonna be doing it again when we do the next one, so yes.
yeah, that'd be a good resource to have
Mhm.
for the group. Is there anything particular here, Tanya, you think we need to update or change, or we just need to look at how?
No, there wasn't anything to change. It was just like that it says we need insurance.
And do we want to take any action on that right at the moment?
When we start doing things where it becomes an issue, then we really need to get insurance. So once we get our first grant money, that's one of the things I would suggest that we explore and pick up. Because right away you add that whole financial piece.
Right.
In the meantime, if we're doing things where we do have an exposure, I suggest we continue to, just pick up a, what do they call it? Events or programming insurance. Oh, Tanya, Progressive. It's actually Progressive Insurance Company. And I'll see if I have contact information later, but that's who it was.
And that's just a one-off? I mean, you just go online and
That's
fill out
all
a
I did.
form?
Yeah. It used to be you had to do a lot of stuff. This time I simply went online. It was 5 minutes to answer the questions, tell them what we were covering, because I also covered the facility that we did the event at. And they said, okay, you're covered, and sent electronic verification. Did the same thing with the Waves of Wisdom.
Yeah, if you could send that, we can put that in our tool belt.
Yeah, I suspect if we just Google Progressive Event Insurance, I can find it. But if not, I'll go I'll go find it. It'll be in the next documents because I'm going to sign up for the March one now anyway.
Was there anything else
Yeah. Can we go back to the conflict of interest?
Mhm.
And would also apply. And where's the discrimination one? We have that somewhere.
There's a discrimination clause. It's
So
right here, anti-discrimination
good.
policy.
That's it. Actually, I did something longer at one point, so I probably have that somewhere, but that's good enough.
Yeah, it's pretty much your standard.
Yeah. If there's a complaint on either of those things, and we have our governance committee handling it, but one of them is involved in the complaint, do we want to spell out who they go to at that point or no?
I don't know if that's a bylaws or a procedure, right? Is that more procedural?
It might be, I don't know. I just know if somebody has one of those complaints, there could be an issue if they felt that they didn't have a place to go. Complain.
Yeah, because
That
You
might
know.
be procedural. Yeah. Okay. So maybe when the
Wouldn't they,
We've had that happen in Lost Valley, and essentially they, I think they wrote an email to the entire board or or a letter or something to the entire board.
Okay. I've often had an attorney on the board, and so it made it easy, but we don't have that at the moment. Thank God.
I've only been in small committees and boards, and with complaints in any of those areas, the idea is the person could approach any member of the board that they felt comfortable with, who would then take that complaint to the rest of the board.
That's a good method as well. Because this
I
stuff,
just wanted to echo the idea of sourcing a legal person for the board that
Hey,
protects
Kat.
not only the organization, but also the boards of the directors from making choices out of ignorance. That's all.
We have that
we have
person.
that.
We have one on the advisory board, Kat. She's not available to come on the main board. But if we felt we needed one on the main board, then we'd have to look elsewhere.
Right. Was there anything else bylaws, Tanya? I think I
No, I think
covered it all.
Good work, guys.
Gonna,
rules and regulations geeks.
all right, so this becomes the next one here. Sure. All right. Keep that
I
safe.
remember once at my job that I brought like I had end of year sort of review, and my boss was asking what are the things I like doing and what are the things that are, just like a review thing. And I did say to him, what I really enjoy is like the rules and regulations parts and the this and blah and the permits. And he just like literally burst out laughing, and he goes,
Yep.
he goes, well, I'm glad you
Yep.
like that.
Um, I'm gonna find the agenda here again.
Alien, you look like you are struggling to stay awake.
Oh,
You're
see, I'm mute. I have to step away for just a minute.
I will too.
I'll be right
I-
back.
I traveled by bus today, 5 hours, and I have a flight in like late morning
Ooh.
tomorrow. But I've missed so many meetings. I was like, annual meeting cannot miss.
Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. It's not easy.
We know it's not the most fun topic for most people.
And we love you.
And it's an absolute pleasure having you here. So thank you.
And it's lovely to
I
see you,
miss
right?
everybody so much.
Totally.
I just put the link in chat for the main page for event insurance for Progressive. Now here it says that it starts at $63. When I just did this last one, they only charged me 30, so I'm not sure what that's about.
I think it depends on the number of people that
Yes,
come.
it
That's how
does.
we used to do it.
And the number of others you're going to indemnify.
We do have 2 registrations for the one of the circles.
Cool. Thank you for, man, I tried to create those things. I was so, hour and a half last night, and I was so frustrated. I just,
That
couldn't do
aren't
it.
board members, right? I saw one earlier today. It wasn't,
Bunch
because
of,
we had,
but 2 that aren't, yes.
I'm gonna go out later today and spread it all over the groups.
And I might actually delete the board members if there's a way of doing that, because we can right now
Yeah.
for we have 25 signups per. I mean, I think it's very ambitious to expect that we get 25 per circle anyway, but if I see that we get close, I might take y'all out because you're getting the links anyway.
yeah, I thought of that, and you can go in and like, well, it's a refund. Like, it's free, but it's like doing a refund. on the
It's
ticket.
really odd that they've decided to do that now. I'm presuming they've changed something because I know when I set it up for Waves of Wisdom,
Yep.
I wasn't restricted to 25. I was able to set it that any fee
Mhm.
would come from the ticket sold. And it doesn't let you do that now.
Yeah,
That makes no sense.
since
I know.
since I sent you yesterday was what popped up. So I could pick
Yeah.
200, I could pick, I think 250 and 500 or some, or over 500.
Okay, so you can still do that.
But it came up with asking me for a credit card when I.
No, it asks you to put a credit card in, Jim. That's it.
Oh, that's how
Which
they're.
is like, yeah, don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So on that note, I don't know if you want to have a look at another company called All Event, or one word, capital A, capital E.
Yeah.
It's another American-based company, but it's the one that I'm using to do my little events. It's free. It's a bit like the website where you can have different packages. So what you get for your package will depend on what you're paying. Then the free one obviously is limited, and it allows you to have 5 concurrent events. So you can't have more than 5 running at the same time, but we don't need any more than that at the moment.
Is that
and
the link I used when I signed up for your class then?
no, I wasn't using it then, and I
Oh,
wasn't
okay.
using Eventbrite either. So that was going directly through my website. It is the one that Jim used to sign up for this current writing one.
Current series?
Yes.
I was just wondering, because that
they don't-
wasn't hard either, the one I did.
Yeah, they don't limit your number of tickets or any of that.
Well, I'm not opposed to switching.
I'm not, except everybody knows Eventbrite now. That's my only.
Yeah, people, I've been a member of Eventbrite for a long time,
Me
have
too.
different things.
So
I
interesting.
don't understand why they want a credit card. That's.
It is interesting, but I would say, because I've done Eventbrite and I've done All Event, and whilst All Event seems very, very new, it has got me instant ticket sales, where Eventbrite has got me nothing.
That's kind of my sense. I'm like, is Eventbrite even still a thing? I didn't realize people were still using that, but I guess that's still happening. But my question around it all was, if this is a free event and we really just want to hear from the community, why do we need that at all? Like, what is the point of making people sign up? Is it just to capture email addresses at this point?
And to register them.
It's partly to capture the emails, but it's also to make sure that the Zoom address is not just banded around everywhere, so that you don't pick up
Right.
random scammers.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I feel like that's a role of a moderator, is to kick people out like that.
You'll get a flood though if you don't.
Yeah,
It's
No.
hard to
now it's
control.
nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, we had
That's
this-
changed.
This unpublicized event Rebecca just did. She had 2 crashers yesterday.
Yep.
It was pretty low key. I mean, she gets them constantly with security.
Yeah. No, I get it. I know, I've seen it. I've kicked people out of meetings too. But yeah, that's fine.
I
And,
think it all becomes a bit superfluous once we have our registration capturing device. So if we can get what Jim was using before connected to the website, so that we can gather that information, and we've got our bank account up and running, then we can take fees. We can create registrations and do it all through our own website.
yeah, I was going to ask that, because WordPress have an option to have people register. I'm working with another organization right now where people just sign up through the website. Is that, or maybe it's
There's two different ways with WordPress.
Whoa,
You can
that is so cool. Look
You
at
can-
that.
through WordPress as a WordPress person, and that's when you will get emailed about blogs and what have you, but that is not necessarily what we're talking about, capturing emails. So I use MailChimp, and I can connect my MailChimp account to my WordPress account. So whatever this account that Jim already had, that already has over 1,000 emails on it that you used also for Otter, what's it? So it's worth us keeping that one, but as far as I understand, it's like MailChimp. I don't know enough really. Robert can probably chime in here. But basically, whatever it is, we need it attached to the website so that it can harvest all of that information. Then we can start sending out newsletters.
Yeah, it seems
So
like
we're getting down into the weaving a tighter circle part, right? Which is kind of capturing all of that and putting it in words that people can see and processes and workflows that we can follow. And but before we get there, I would just like to say that for Amalgamated Bank and getting the account open, they said at least 30 days. It's been longer than that. But I've done all the signatures that I did through DocuSign and some other sign, get all the bank. Once I was done, then they sent it on to Jim as for all of his signatures. I think Jim did that Monday or Tuesday. I was hoping to see, I'm assuming that what I may see next will be in the mail because they'd have to send me all the account information and all of that. So I hadn't seen anything. I went out and checked the mail before the meeting again. And so I will reach out to them on Monday again and say, what's our timeline now that we've gotten here? So that's where we are with the bank. Just literally just waiting for the documentation. A deposit needs to be made within 30 days of the account open, or they'll just close it. But there's been a monthly contribution into PayPal and it's sitting waiting for an account to hook to. And so once the account is hooked or the account's up, I'll hook the PayPal to it and I'll push all that money over into the account. So just waiting for all of that to occur. For the all event, just like kind of from a banking perspective, that I'm assume that set up to then they collect the funds and then forward them on to
Yeah,
you.
you would like with Eventbrite, you are
Okay.
either taking it to your PayPal, or I think you've got the Stripe option.
Okay.
And I don't think there is any other options. So for me, I've got it going through PayPal. So you may not want that. It's not direct.
So it takes the money that you call the people signing up need to use PayPal.
They pay through PayPal, whether they have PayPal or not, and it does
Okay.
it.
Okay. All right.
It does it directly.
So that could go to the Sodom PayPal and then just right into the bank.
Yeah.
For a small fee.
Yeah. So,
No, they're all adding fees now.
yes,
No-
it didn't give me the option to say otherwise, but I have noticed that my simple fee is whatever, and PayPal are also taking an extra £1, not off of me, but off of the people who are buying my ticket.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Just
For instance, the ticket is £10, for instance. They're being charged 11, and I'm getting £9 something. That's PayPal for you.
that sounds.
yep,
Well,
that's
Also, I was just thinking this through again. We can also just set up something like payment links in PayPal for specific events and use that. I've just done that for my events. And then we get the email addresses there too.
all right.
Hmm.
So that's about the bank. So we're almost there. I thought we'd be there by now, but it's, nothing simple. Let's see. Oh, and I guess the other item is that the first filing with Delaware was due. And so that's all been prepared by a registered agent and is ready to send. That is one area that there is a fee. So I paid the fee. to get that filing done. The value of that service and using that service is that it never attaches, regardless me, whoever in the future, whatever, it just the paper trail and the payment trail all lead back to our registered agent and not to a specific individual. So I thought that's pretty cool. None of the personal information it's all through the registered agent. So it's kind of cool having someone acting on your behalf and playing the part. All right. So the next piece is really the piece that to me fell all out of, and was really trying to figure out how to I guess corral all that together. And I think we did that quite nicely this week when we met on Tuesday, coming to some agreements that yeah, we need to have some better definition and around the different things that we need to do. That's what's going to drive our communication and eventually also fundraising. So the order that I had put it in the agenda, to me by this morning, right, because I allowed things to evolve in my mind, really brought me back to the event that we have underway, right? In the sense that if we have different types of events, I could share again if you'd like, but real quick, I'll just show you what I kind of propose capturing here, and then just trying to quickly just kind of move forward, right? And just say, okay, these are our definitions. This is what we think frequency looks like. And I think the monthly circle is a really good example, right? It's something that we just did. What did we have to do? What did we have to accomplish in that event? So when we go and do it, it's repeatable, right? If I recall the Eventbrite event needed to be created, but ahead of that, there needed to be some dialogue that was written. So really just trying to capture that. And then, there was I'll call it a philosophy. I'll use that term, that we'd create these committees and that they'd go down and they'd do all these things. But what I realized from this monthly circle planning is that there isn't anything that doesn't require all the committees in a sense, right? We need the multimedia committee for this. We need the artists. We need to understand what the program is, and we all took a different part. Again, through playing through that, just like we did with Waves of Wisdom. Because I think there's different types of communication strategy, programming strategy, and fundraising strategies. And I think if we never do anything else, that we really need to have some definition around, what these things are. I made up some things like, okay, what types of programs, because, ad hoc, monthly circles, I use Waves of Wisdom. I think we're kind of on that term. SODM programs, right? Those things that aren't Waves of Wisdom, aren't monthly circle, might be more instructor-led, right? Type programs, and then maybe partner programs, things that we do, Peace Week or Unity Week, or those types of programs, because they're all going to require, they all occur differently, right? I think I'll use partner programs as an example now. I think we might know when the next Unity Week or the next Peace Week is, right? Well, what do we need to do to get prepared for that ahead of time, so that on that day, because I know through the year, it's like, 2 weeks is Peace Week. What are we going to, can we get something together? And it just didn't really come together, or if we did, we really didn't have the visibility we could have gotten if we'd have been more prepared, and even been listed in some of the programming sooner as it relates to those events. So,
Can I interject a moment?
Yeah.
Don? This is spot on. Thank you, because absolutely we need all of this. But what keeps ringing in my mind as you're saying it all is this. This is your marketing person. A lot of this would be headed by and orchestrated, if you like, by whoever is going to be our marketing person, and that because it's your front of house, isn't it? It's your the marketing side is not, it's not about necessarily bringing in money. It's about our presence out there in the world. So if we can fill these missing slots, then I think our strategies will improve loads, because I get the sense we're all a bit stretched and not one of us quite fits that that job title, do we really?
It took it took a little bit of everybody to, and
Yeah.
we're still moving, right? So
and it will still take a little bit of everybody, but it's somebody to ensure that it's all being done. That's the bit I think that we ended up, as you're saying, we've missed, is that there isn't somebody who's on it, if you like, and therefore on us, right? I need this, I need this, I need that.
I mean, multimedia should be under marketing. I mean, that's the whole
Yeah.
umbrella. And it's too many different types of jobs. A videographer like me is not a social media person necessarily. I mean, all these influencers, they do everything because they have to, but there's certain parts of their job they hate and dread every day, and they're not great at it, or they eventually make enough money, they hire it out. I can't wait until I can hire out some of my stuff for my personal ones. So, but yeah, you need an umbrella person and then several committees under that for each of these different segments.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. That's why I think my term for that was an ops manager, because that's what, it's like, it is going to be the singularly most important job of the entire organization, because it's the bit that will feed into everything and make everything happen.
A really huge piece of this too, again, back to fundraising. We raised some money, and first thing we need to do is hire a couple people and start letting them put these pieces together, because we're never going to be able to do all this as a board.
I
It's just
agree.
not and it shouldn't be.
no,
No.
but I think at the highest level, we as a board need to make the definition of what some of those things are, right? And what, and even as much as frequency in some areas around what we can support, right? Because Waves of Wisdom does require the board. SODM programs, probably some board, some non-board, right? How do we build and bring those other things in the partnering? I think partnering's a little outside of marketing in much as it's forming the relationships, which is the board.
Board and staff. Board sets policy, board creates budgets, board can determine, okay, here's the areas we're going to work in, and then it goes over to staff. And implementation, creation and implementation then becomes theirs.
But and right now we're staff, right?
We're the whole bit,
And so we need to know how it runs, right?
Yeah.
And it also
yeah.
creates some guidelines, around even so much as the policy around, well, the definition of an ad hoc program. I mean, most organizations that I've been in and around do have some kind of guidelines and rules around a board member's ability to speak to the press, or what can you say, or how do we make sure we stay within our message really at this point and with this group, and not deviate outside that.
I think we can accomplish that by just like making sure we have a clear set of values that will guide communication. Alian has had her hand up. Sorry about
just another point, because the planning of larger programs takes also longer time, and the frequency of things we put up online as SOTM is lesser. Each one of us is individually also doing a lot of work.
Yes.
So able to compile that, saying that, okay, one of the members is speaking about this, is holding this workshop, which is all in alignment with SOTM. I
Mhm.
don't know if that helps to sometimes also put those up and count that in the program strategy, because that's also something we do. It is the
Mhm.
same thing, but right now we're doing it individually, but we're part of the board in the larger picture.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
in everything I do when I'm doing a program, if it's not a SOTM program, but it isn't within our vision and mission, I always put SOTM on there. So we get recognized. Now, if it's something else, if Christopher's out there pole dancing, then we don't want him to have no.
Yeah. It's something I think I was trying to say when we met earlier in the week, and it's, unless everybody knows how to implement everything, like can get into Google Docs, can sign, can go into the website and can write a
Mhm.
blog, can update the event page, then it requires somebody else filing through, filtering through, capturing everybody else's work and doing all of that, which is not a problem for any one person to do,
Mm.
but that's a full-time job.
Mhm.
And not one of us is in a position
No.
to take that on without it being our job, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's where we sort of keep coming round in this circle. So we either need, well, at the moment, we can't employ somebody to do the job, but we need another, therefore, we need another board member who that is what they do.
Event planning.
Yeah, or it was not, it comes down to the marketing side of things again. That's what that is, because it is it's capturing everything
Mhm.
and making sure it's in the right place.
Mhm.
And they don't have to focus on anything else. So whichever way we look at this, we are understaffed, whether it is paid staff, board members. We need more people. We need more bums on seats
Mhm.
from the driving wheel side, and not just from the community of interested people.
Mhm.
Right. And it's project management when you're doing programs, because
Yeah.
you have the, if we're going to do the monthly circles on a regular basis, so we've got this one we're working toward, and then there's, that'll occur, and then there's the next one for the next month. Well, how many weeks prior we run these schedules that say, 2 weeks prior to implementation, this is done 1 week, and all these tasks that are laid out. And so some of that may be capturing waves of wisdom, if it's a couple times a year, whatever. SOTM programs, that's a little different, but you still have to have the marketing piece up front, the getting on the website, getting out social media, and doing all that in a time frame. So I think I guess part of what I'm hearing is we can't think about this now because we don't have enough people, or do we get our definitions down so that we know what we're working toward? Right now we don't have any staff, so we need to understand what needs to be done, so that we're all going to need to chip in, because until we have some regular cycle of programming, regardless of staffing, right, we're never going to get to a place where we're getting out there on a continual basis, right? Like
Catch
Yeah,
blogs.
22.
I was going to say, I think it's a bit of both. We absolutely need this, but that's not going to change anything,
No.
Right.
because
So
unless somebody is going to step up and go, right, I'm going to oversee this, it still isn't going to get actioned. And it's not about one person doing all the things. It's about one person overseeing all of the things and ensuring they get done.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
so just like the other day, you know, it's not difficult for us all to pull together. If there's somebody who can be in that hub who sits and goes, right, I need this and this and this. Right, Tanya, could you go and do that? And Shami, can you go and do that one? And Jim, could you just do one of these? And Chris, can you get some of this together? And Don, I need that. But there needs to be someone who's doing that. Otherwise, we are missing things, like you said about missing the possibility of Unity Week, because nobody's sitting there looking at it all.
Right.
We're all
Right.
doing other things. So whatever it is, you know, whether we have the structure in place or not, without the person who's going to actually act that place, that position, it's not going to make any difference, I don't think, personally.
I agree. That typically is kind of what I'm really good at. That's been sort of my role in other jobs, making sure that all the things get done. But
Mhm.
like you said, it's like the timing piece where I'm like, oh gosh, like, can I actually put in that amount of time when I'm trying to make a living with without a
Mhm.
job right now? That's
Well,
the-
ditto, you know,
I
it's
heard
something
that.
I'm quite capable of doing, but I really absolutely need to be focusing all of that into trying to create a living at the moment. So I'm in, you know, exactly the same thing. I could happily do that.
So
But-
regardless of the big list, right? Let's just
Yeah.
say that there are probably two things that we in our small group can accomplish. And those things would be a monthly circle and regular blogs.
I think
Or-
we're struggling with regular blogs, Don.
But do we have well, what do we consider a regular blog? Weekly? Right?
Well,
I mean, first that
random.
means how
It's
often?
random at the moment because nobody's doing them.
Right. But if
I
but
looked
if
on
we
there today, and it's like the last ones that were done were ones that I put up there, and it's like so maybe that's something that we need to sort out. And we did talk about that last time, and Shami did say
Right.
that we'd start doing.
right, I got to log in now. It actually works. I can get in there. I can create a blog, but I'm wondering if can it go round robin, right? If we want to post a blog every week, is it just a rotation through the board members of putting up a blog?
That might work.
You wouldn't want me to put a blog up. That is not in my skill set. I like
Okay,
physically,
so is it everyone else minus time?
Just a random thing here.
Do a vlog, not a blog.
I know we've got two instructional bits that people have sent me, but I've been posting stuff in SOTM or Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother for quite a while, and I'm doing probably 2 to 3 a week that could go as a blog. The difficulty of me figuring out where to get it across there, I get stuck on that bit. So I've just been posting it in Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother.
Right. And I think that's really cool. And the only thing, like, let's say from a marketing perspective that I see in that is what is SOTM putting out there, right? I mean, it's cool that things somehow manage to find their way around because I see the post, right? And I see the same post and it's different ones of us doing that. But do we have one that goes out, right? That's SOTM, right? And then it gets shared out, right? Then Christopher shares it. And so I think we're backing into it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't, and so it's more like SOTM getting out a regular blog. And if we can figure out how to feed that to social media, right? Then it's about Christopher sharing, Don sharing, Jim sharing, but we're sharing a SOTM blog.
That, I think the point that Chris is trying to make is that he can't get it onto the
Right,
website as a
right.
blog. So somebody needs to gather his stuff off of the board group on Facebook and put it on the website. So this is coming back to what I was saying, is that it's not necessarily difficult to do and it's not out of some of our skill sets, but it's a time thing. So unless there's somebody who's doing that job, it's a job that isn't getting done.
Right.
It's not the
I'll
job
take
of writing the
blogs.
blog. It's
that I have,
making sure that the stuff that, you know, the vast stuff that's out there, you know, you see some of these wonderful posts that Allianz putting up there. So
Yep.
whoever is doing it needs to grab it. And I was looking at one the other day and thinking, right, God, I need to get that as a blog up on the thing, but I don't necessarily have the time to be doing that. So somebody
Yeah.
has to be doing that, or a team of us
Can
have to be taking that responsibility, or something. I don't know, Don, but that's
well, I
sort of-
think if,
friend circle or people
Go
we
ahead.
might know who might like to kind of be part of this of SOTM like
Sure.
we are, be wanting to do something like that, maybe we should look a little.
yeah, that's on our priority list.
but that's what I'm thinking, really, that comes
It's-
back to that really smacks that's the most important thing for us to do, isn't it? Is to get some more people on board that are going to be specifically good at doing those jobs.
I generally spend a couple hours a day posting on social media. And so my way around it is I put Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother, Sodom.org before the board. So I haven't gotten the blogs because that'd be even more time, but I try to identify everything as sanctuaries. I'm writing for sanctuaries.
That unfortunately doesn't get people on the website, and
That's true.
it still makes everything quite disjointed. And I was briefly saying to you earlier that you know, so it comes around to yet another thing is we also need to get the website finally all running, all singing, all dancing. So it needs to have our Instagram account attached to it. We
Yeah.
need to have a Facebook page for Sanctuaries, not just the group, so that can be attached to the website. It'll take TikTok, it'll take LinkedIn, it'll take, oh God, there's names up there that I've never come across, Mastodon or something. God, I don't know.
They're all over the
Next,
place. Yeah.
or there's all these different
Mhm.
things that you can connect to, including your MailChimp or whatever the resource that you've got, Jim, that we need to make sure is connected to the
Yes. Yes.
website. So all of those things need to be done. All those links
Mhm.
need to be connected to the website. Then what that does is that when you write one blog on the website, it goes everywhere. You just press publish and it publishes in all those places. So you don't have to spend 2 hours sharing it everywhere.
That's right.
It's
If I
one-
could figure out how to get to the page,
Well,
sounds like a format that I could use. Like
Well,
yesterday,
exactly.
I did 2 posts on my sort of blog page that I have as a Facebook page. I just don't know how to get to this place you're talking about that does all this stuff, because that sounds great.
Well, I think that, didn't somebody just share a tutorial on that this week?
Yeah,
There's a blog.
Robert
yes.
did, and I've partly got through it. I've not understood it yet.
but
Once
it's
you
not
get past,
actually going to do that population yet until we've actually made all of those connections. So, you know, we can't connect Facebook because we don't have a page. I couldn't connect Instagram to it because I don't know the Instagram login. That's something Shami needs to do. And then if there's any other, you know, if we've got TikTok, if we've got any of those that we're using, instead of using them under somebody else's account, we need to have SOTM accounts. that are
So
under the-
can't the Facebook page, oh, it's a group.
It's a
So it-
group, it's not a page.
And so somebody needs to put the Facebook page under a profile.
We need to have a Facebook page. Because the original Facebook page, Don, is nobody's got access to it.
So there needs to be a Facebook account that's Sodom.
Yeah.
Because that becomes your page, whereas Donald
Yeah.
Butler, I have a page under Donald Butler that is Feline Bungalow, right? That people can write reviews
Yeah.
for our cat thing,
Yeah.
right? But we need that physical page. So who's gonna take that action to create that physical page? Because that sounds like one of our biggest impediments for moving from blog to bam, it goes out.
So we
I
have,
did try looking for the login for the Instagram account so that I could connect it earlier today when I did the post, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So we need to make sure we've got a clear list on the Google Drive of all of our logins.
yep.
And they
So we
all
have-
need to be on boardsottom@gmail.com. They need to all be created with that email address so that any board member can access them.
We have a sanctuaries group. Can't we create a page right out of that group, or you can't do that anymore?
Well, somebody needs to do it. It needs to be, it doesn't have anything to do with the group. It's a page.
It used to be that you could create the page out of the group, but I don't see that option
I
available.
don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, okay. Let's see what I can find here.
I can inquire on that too. They change the rules so fast, it's hard to keep
I
up with.
know.
Rebecca's
Yeah.
the only one I know that keeps up with it because she has to.
I don't know
Yeah,
how.
he's
she
So if we
does it.
created a Facebook page, then we could notify people in the group, right, through group posts that we also now have a page. Maybe try and shift everybody.
Yeah, they
The
both
key-
have different purposes. You may want both.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they do. And you can cross post anyway. So you can
Yeah,
set it
right,
so
okay.
every post your page does, it goes straight to
Good,
your
good.
group. So again, you still don't have to actually click. It depends how you set your page up, but
Right.
your page is your front of house that will gather anything outside of Facebook. A group will not. So a page is like an account. A group is not an account, if that makes sense.
Can you
It
still
does.
post to the group as an option on it, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't make the group dysfunctional or defunctional.
No.
It doesn't invalidate the group. But for instance, you can't create an event under the group. So it has to be an individual who creates the event or the page. So if you have a SOTM page, we can be creating, like Jim had created the Circle One Facebook event. It could be created by the SOTM page, which means that every admin, which could be all of the board members, gets access to it.
So I'm looking and there is apparently am I wrong? Isn't this a page that I'm looking at for sanctuaries? Says it is. Let me go to it.
Do you have the login for it though, Jim? I think you
Oh.
used to have a page.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
there.
thing.
It's there. It's got 1,500 people on it.
Yeah,
And
but
the
it's a
last-
question of whether we have the logins for it. That's the point.
Yeah.
If we're not admin accessible
Well,
anymore.
Sue's been using it, but that was last time was 2021. Okay, so, oh crap.
If we can use that, great.
Oh, and if not, then we want to get rid of it, so it's not confusing. Right?
So who wants to take this act of sorting all this? We've talked about this. I do this every day in my real world, just kind of in circles and circles and circles. And we've kind of talked about this for a while, and we do circle work. But how do we resolve this? What's the problem we're trying to solve, and how are we going to solve it?
Are you saying we're not real world? Is that what I heard?
We're otherworldly, which is cooler. I like working in otherworldly realms.
Ah, okay.
Yes.
That sounds like
Okay,
bullshit
know-
to me.
I know we haven't mentioned this part of it for a while. If it's just writing the blog generally, I've got no problem writing because I do it all the time, on my little posts. But if you guys can organize your side of it, because I'm not understanding most of this, pages to groups to things, I get lost. But if it's just writing, if
Yeah.
anybody wants writing on a subject, get that to
Yep.
me. Let me know what you'd like something reflecting on. I can do that. As
Yeah,
long as it's about human growth, self-development, earth care. Tanya, go for it.
Yeah, this is the part it comes back to. We like, yeah, that can happen, but we actually need a person to do it, like to put
Right.
it. So, still talking in circles, and I actually would vote at this point. A bunch of us have to leave.
Yes, we are past.
Yeah.
I say this is where we tend to, after 2 hours, get really frazzled and into like a circle thing. Like this is a pattern. So I would vote that we stop the meeting now. And because there is some momentum though, and we are having conversation, I would think was wondering if we could have a meeting sooner to discuss some of these things, and actually make some action items for someone to take on. And maybe it's something that we split up, that like all of us have some sort of skill that we can do, and maybe we can somehow split it up like we did with these circles,
Hmm.
and just keep moving forward with like little steps here and there.
And you mean like say Tuesday, the 12th, or like soon
Yeah,
versus
next
next-
week, 2 weeks or so, like not like waiting for the next board meeting.
right.
Okay, on the page, and then I'll get off it. It looks like Sue set it up because her phone number is the one on there. And it's an old phone number, so it's probably defunct. I'll see if I can find a way to delete it. It's a shame, there's 1,500 people, but we'll get them again.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'll have to leave now because I have to wake up in the morning.
Yeah. Good night and thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Safe
Sweet
travels.
dreams.
And I agree with Tanya. Let's put
Good
together
night.
something.
So Tanya, do you want to meet before the circle event?
It's on 20th, right? Let me see. So that's just looking at a calendar. I think that would be great. Yeah,
24. So that means next week then.
next week. Yeah, or the beginning of the next week, the following week. Yeah. But I think because we have this momentum, and just sort of seeing if we can divvy it up somehow.
Okay. Well, that week of the circle, so starting that Monday, I am chock-a-block the entire week. There is not an evening that I have free.
Chuck.
So I can't. That doesn't mean to say that you can't.
Does anyone
Um,
have anything next week of 11th?
As in this Monday coming, I will be in the middle of Wales in my van with no internet and no computer.
Ooh,
Well, and
wanna-
I meant any time that week, not necessarily Monday.
I'll be on
I-
the road. I'll be on the road, but I can come in as here and there.
Yeah, I'll be back on the Wednesday at some point. So I could potentially do Wednesday evening.
Mhm.
Evenings are getting a bit chocker. No. Otherwise, it would be the Saturday, really. Saturday the 16th.
I think Saturday's fine. That works for me. Don't know how about everybody else. Oh, I have a thing in the morning, of course. It depends on the time on Saturday. I have a thing right at 10 a.m.
I can be free anytime on Saturday, but that really is evening, really, when it's you being up daylight time.
I'm free most of the time, so generally for me, it's not an issue.
Are we talking? We're talking the 16th, yes?
Yeah, I can do the Sunday as well.
Okay.
The Friday I can't. The Thursday I can't. Fridays and Thursdays are just generally out the window, really.
Yeah, Sunday would be better for me too.
I'm okay with a Sunday if you guys are.
With our 1 o'clock,
I
which is
usually
your
fine, yeah.
10 usual time. I'll
Yeah.
just call it usual time.
Now, I'll be on the
Sunday the
road, but I'll give it my best.
Sunday the 17th.
Mm-hmm.
I will schedule that. For 2 hours? An hour, hour and a half?
I would say an hour and a half. I think the start
Okay.
getting pretty frazzled at a certain point.
90 minutes is, yeah, I agree.
We're gonna call it Sodom, okay.
What time?
Our normal time, so be, 10 p, or 11
11 for me,
Mountain,
okay.
yeah, Mountain Standard. Okay,
You're gonna send us a Zoom invite around
I am,
as you
right,
on.
yep, creating it right now.
Great.
And I'm just gonna call it kind of the media discussion.
So your 11 Mountain Time is the same as we did today.
Yes. Pardon me, yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we didn't get nearly as far,
I think we got a
but
lot
we
done.
got a lot done. So it was good. Well, you never know how far you're gonna get. So I had a large agenda.
Yep.
And we really need to just keep chipping away. I'm gonna take some liberty to just start filling in some definitions and things, so we have a
Yes.
place to start.
Yeah.
On that. So anything else before, oh, our next, well, this will be our next meeting. Do you want to discuss the next meeting of this group, or do you want to handle that in that discussion? Because normally we wouldn't meet till after the first of the year due to the holidays.
Let's do
And
the
if we do our-
17th and then go into the beginning of the year because we'll be too close to the holidays.
And so you want to wait till the 17th to determine what's going to work best?
It's up to everybody.
Have the-
Okay.
January 6th? Same time?
That sounds good to me.
Anyone else? Any dissenters for January 6th? So it's either the 6th or the 13th.
I'll be in class the 6th and the 7th.
The 13th feels a bit more relaxed. Sometimes the 6th is still close to the holidays for some people.
That was my feeling, but I wasn't gonna
That's also
dissuade the
fine.
group.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I'm
some
happy with the 13th. Are you good with the 13th, Robert?
All right, we're gonna call it the 13th then. Okay,
Yeah.
let me get this first one out or I mess up my process with that one. Okay. We'll do the January 13th, same bat time and channel.
And we
Cool.
will
All right.
we will officially put today's meeting in as the annual meeting, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Good.
it's had titled such, planned as such. Notification was sent last month, so
Good. Yeah, I'm just saying it so it's here in the recording as well.
yes. This concludes the annual meeting of Sanctuaries of the Earth Mother. Tune in next year.
Thank you.
I second that motion.
All right, okay. It sounds like we go forward. Anything else?
Just a quick one. Did you say we had a meeting scheduled? Because I went through my calendar and I didn't see anything.
I have not hit the send button yet. I want to make sure I use the right,
I mean, between you and I, not the board.
oh, no, I thought I sent that one when we sent that one on the 27th.
And while we're here, Robert, do you think we
Oh,
need to
yeah.
try and reschedule another multimedia one, or is it not worth it at the minute?
I was thinking just I'm gonna set a standard.
I
date
sent that
every
as the
month.
27th.
So sorry.
Yeah, I'm yeah, I'm gonna set a standard date every month, so it's just reoccurring.
Oh, good.
Okay.
That's smart.
Monthly, and I was debating on an early and a late. So maybe it's the second and fourth Tuesday of the month, and one of them's midday and one of them's 8 Eastern, something like that. I don't know.
That's a good idea.
Tuesday, second and third Tuesdays.
Ew.
I've got a minute after the meeting, Jim. Can you call me if you're not doing something right away?
Huh?
Do you have a minute to talk after the meeting, Jim?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Tanya, I did resend with an email with the link.
Yeah, I have it for whatever reason. It's not going on my calendar. Okay, at least I know I'll put it in manually for now.
And then
All
Chris,
right.
I'll catch you in a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I'll go
Cheers.
lie down and get something called sleep.
Oh, what time are you at?
All right.
Um,
yeah,
we're
go on.
9 o'clock in the morning now. You and
Yeah,
I
right.
were chatting between 5 and 6,
Oh,
and I
geez.
think possibly round 3 or 4 as well.
Bye.
Love
Bye.
you all. I think we're done. See you next
Okay.
time.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
All
Thank
right.
I'll have my phone on, Jim, so just send a message and it'll